Hello and welcome back, or welcome in now to the MVP podcast. My name is Anthony Mero.
And I'm Phil Van Pelt. Thank you guys for joining us on the MVP podcast. We've thrown some stuff on YouTube before in the past, but we were also on a station in Bozeman, Montana, online radio station. So we're going to be predominantly YouTube now. That station, Aideo, no longer exists. So from there, we are going to be, like I said, exclusively YouTube. So we're excited to bring our, predictions, recaps, projections, a lot of NFL content to you. We're going to have some good March Madness content when that comes around before we know it. And we're going to have a lot of NBA stuff too, as we're now into NFL playoff time. So it's going to start thinning out the content that we do have for that. But super excited to get things going with the first round of the playoffs here. As just a couple days from now, we're going to be kicking off. Or when you guys see this, potentially today. But we're going to get it rolling. Anthony, how do you feel about the switch?
I mean, obviously, it's a bummer. You never want to see something go out of business, essentially. And I do want to say thank you, obviously, for the opportunity they gave us, the repetitions that we were able to put online. Hopefully we can retain some of the ears that we got from that outlet. And I kind of look forward to building up on YouTube now, and build a new set of audience and continue to grow and roll this out there. I mean, I feel like we have some pretty cool takes and some decent conversation around football, basketball, and some other sports. If you want to throw other things in there, I'm a wrestling fan, and
track and field.
Yeah, we could go from there.
No disrespect to track and field. It's just, I mean, unless it's the
got a relatively small audience compared to the other major sports in America, but.
Exactly.
I will say I'm excited to build up on here, and hopefully people enjoy what we're doing here. We're going to try to build a conversation, and to start with that, if you guys have a different take than us, don't be afraid to put it in the comments. Let us know how you feel, and hopefully after every topic of conversation that we have going into the postseason now, we have Wildcard weekend coming up, you'll have a different take. Let us know why you think your team is going to win, or maybe your team's in the draft lottery, talking about the Texans here, and you kind of feel upset about getting that second pick. Let us know. Put it in the comments. Maybe we'll talk about it the following week. We want to have that conversation with you guys.
Absolutely. So put it in there. Obviously, we get passionate about our takes. I know this is the beginning. This is early. It doesn't necessarily feel that way, but at this moment, we do get passionate. You will very quickly find out the allegiances we have, especially my allegiances, as we get breaking this down. Both of us do have a dog in the fight right now. You probably lesser extent for Anthony than me, because I'm all in there. I feel every bit of the pain and happiness. But which we will unveil here coming up soon. And we're excited. But like Anthony said, reiterate that if you have a take, put it in there, talk about it. We like the conversation, get back and forth, get going. Something you want us to talk about, something you want us to bring up. And this will be, we like to go off on different tangents. So we'll probably, mesh some of this in with some other, as much as we can, pop culture stuff and different things like that. So excited to get it going and get the conversation rolling here on YouTube. But let's get it rolling with the first game of the weekend, a wild card weekend here. We got the Niners and the Seahawks. So, I mean, we can talk about how things came to be, but I kind of want to focus on just these playoff games. We're going to give you guys kind of a shorter episode today, probably, 30 something minutes here. Generally, we like to go about an hour, but we're going to kind of ease in here. NFC is kicking us out though, Anthony. You got the Seahawks and the Niners. And do you see any way? Seahawks are a big underdog here. Division rivalry game. Generally you throw these things out. It's hard to beat a team 3 times, or, when you face a team 3 times, they know each other despite what's going on outside us. I mean, the Niners have the best roster, but I can't, Pete Carroll, he's been there. He's won some games. Obviously he's won a Super Bowl. He's been a successful head coach, never missed the playoffs in consecutive years. And it's division. It's just division. And these guys know each other. I know it's heavily favored in the Niners, but I'm not totally sleeping on the Seahawks. They've defied the odds all year. What do you think about this game?
Honestly, this is going to be a sad day for the Seahawks. I think a lot of people wrote them off, and they're playing with house money.
We were some of them.
But they lost both games pretty handily in the regular season. And we talk about the Niners all the time. This is a quarterback driven league. The quarterback is the most important position. And even though the Niners don't exactly have what you would consider a phenomenal quarterback, Brock Purdy has stepped into the limelight and been sensational for them. It's just they have so much talent across the roster. They're so good at every position. Everywhere you look, they have elite running backs. They have elite wide receivers. They have one of the best tight ends ever in George Kittle. You compare his stats 6 years in, right next to Travis Kelce, who's potentially the GOAT at tight end, and they're neck and neck, identical. And Kittle's missed more games. Like the amount of talent on this roster is immense. It's a paint by numbers offense, as Nick Wright says. You throw anybody in there, they have a genius coach. It's kind of hard to write them off or even try to talk yourself into the Seahawks winning. Although I will say the Seahawks have played sensationally all year. All of those rookies they drafted have paid massive dividends. Geno Smith's had the best year of his career. Up
Passing
there,
yardage for the Seahawks, period. He broke
yeah,
Russell's record. So, I mean, good for him.
sensational, man. Like they've had a phenomenal year, and it looks like they're just going to keep building on it. But when you try to compare the teams, it's so hard to see how the Seahawks can really compete. Besides like abusing Kenneth Walker, their incredible rookie running back, I can't see them really putting up much of a fight. They're going to have to control the time. They're going to have to control the clock. They need to be able to control the things that they can. But the Niners are just great, man. Nick Bosa has been on an absolute mission. He's playing on a completely different level, potentially defensive player of the year caliber. It's just, I think the Niners are going to roll them, and it's not going to be very pretty.
What do you have score prediction wise then?
Score prediction, it's another one. I think it's not going to be crazy high scoring. The Niners know how to not play with their food, but also dominate in ways beyond just complete trouncing players or teams like the Bills do. It'll be like 40-3. I think it's going to be something along in the ballpark of like 24-14.
Well, for me, I mean, you talk about the Bills like that. Things change, things evolve throughout the season, and we haven't seen these teams really do. I mean, the Niners did do that to the Bucks and things like that. My thing with the Niners is you want to go in hot. The Niners are as hot as you can be, winning 10 straight. But eventually, there's a limit here because for me, you're going to lose eventually. You're going to lose games, and it's hard to say. It feels like the law of averages says you keep winning. Well, okay, you're going to lose one soon, so you may as well get it out of the way and kind of refocus here. The Niners winning 10 straight. Is there anything here that makes you feel like, hey, it feels like they're going to drop one? And that might not necessarily be to the Seahawks this week. Go, 11 wins. For me, the biggest thing is going to be, can they just throw a wrench into some of this momentum? Because that's what the Niners are right now. They're a train that's rolling. Everything's going in their favor. They keep, defensively, they're controlling the tempo. They're controlling the game. For me, if the Seahawks can throw a wrench and get some points on them, and all of a sudden, there's some doubt creeps in, it changes the way the Niners do things. I don't know that anybody's really fear. I know you talk about Kittle. I know you talk about, McCaffrey and Debo and things like that. They have talent. I just don't, for some reason, I don't know. There's the stats thing, and then there's the eye test. There's different ways people break these down. I don't necessarily fear their offense. It's just coupled with that great defense that they can, that it dominates like it can. And that's, it's a perfect storm. The Niners are a team that no one wants to play. We understand that. I think that the Seahawks, though, will keep it a little closer. I mean, remember the Rams last year could not beat the Niners, and went in the playoffs, and they finally beat the Niners. And not that those were necessarily blowouts in the regular season, like, the Niners have handled the Seahawks. But at the same time, it is hard to beat a team 3 times. They know each other well. There's the game, the planning that goes into this is a little bit different because they know each other so well. And I know it's hard to pick against the Niners. I do think the Niners are going to win this game, but I think it might be a little closer. I'm going to go Niners 24-17. I think the Seahawks actually put up a little bit of a fight here, and they don't cover right now as far as that, spread. Well, let's see. Actually, the spread's changing by the minute. So as you're looking at this, I think a 10-point favorite. So yeah, that's not covering, but that changes. That's fluid. I mean, by the time we wake up in the morning, this might be different. So, but I believe that the Seahawks are going to have a big game offensively. You talk about Walker. I want to see Metcalf and Lockett and these guys do their thing. Geno Smith have a good year. He's had a good year. I want to see him have a good good playoff and this resurgent continue to do that. If he goes back and slumps to the Geno that we kind of thought we had his whole career, we thought we knew, then it's not going to be good. It's not going to be good. The Niners are going to roll him. But the Seahawks have defied, to me, it's a successful season because everybody expected to be a top pick in the draft.
Yeah.
No hopes, no nothing, and everything went in their favor as far as the way Russell is tanked in Denver, the money that pay him, the money that he got paid in Denver, the trade compensation, everything has just worked out for Seattle with this. So good for them. They came out on top and they have a team, whether or not, we think they have their quarterback. I think right now you go, okay, Gino's the guy, but you just wonder if this is kind of a one-off. You want to see him do it again in the fall, either in the playoffs here or again next year. But either way, they have a roster that's set up to continue to grow and get
Yeah.
better, and that's great for them. Good for the Seahawks and good for their fans. I do think the Niners win, but I think they keep it a little closer than people want to make it out to be right now. Next, we go to the Jags and the Chargers, a Saturday night game that's a kind of a toss up here, and
It's a
I think a big
doozy.
reason for that is because of I don't want to say the lack of faith, but I don't know. It's the Chargers, right? Like they should be great. And this is, if you guys are going to figure it out, Anthony's dog in the fight is the Chargers here. And it's a whole thing of like, okay, when the Chargers can take that step, when are they going to take that step? They got the guy, they got all this, they got all this talent, and then Brandon Staley comes out and does some stupid, like
Oh
playing all
God.
his starters in a meaningless game. You're not going to move around, just bench your guys. Now you got to go to Jacksonville and play this game. And that the hardest part for me is that the West Coast teams usually struggle a little bit going east, more so than East Coast going west. And last time that happened, last time Jaguars played, they went west and they beat the crap out of the Chargers. That was early. The Chargers lost a lot of guys in that game. And the Jags proceeded to lose a bunch of games after that and then right the wrong. But that was what you can kind of maybe put the flag in and say, at some point they hung their hats on that and were able to flip their season around and get that streak going, and kind of that game helped them grow. I personally think the Jags at home are going to get this. And part of the reason for that is these coaching decisions and somewhat luck. But I also think the Chargers are going to be all in on trying to get Sean Payton or someone like that to come in and coach. And the Brandon Staley thing might be finished. As a Chargers fan, though, with this, how do you see this playing out? Because first of all, the thing that's got to upset you the most is putting guys like Mike Williams at risk, because the guy he's a difference maker.
I was catching an aneurysm just watching that game. Veins popping out of my skull. I can understand, like, what is it, like, rust versus rest. I get the dilemma. Coming off of the bye week, what would you prefer? You can create a bye. You're not playing for anything at all.
Play him a quarter in the bench.
Yeah, and then pull them like what Tampa did. They played their guys for a half and they pulled them. But to play, Keenan Allen played the whole game. Justin Herbert played until I think it was the 11-minute mark in the fourth quarter. That's criminal. What are you playing for? You don't have any opportunity to move up, and you can't move down. You are locked into the 5th seed. Brandon Staley's excuse was, well, we only have 48 guys. Tell you what, the Giants played their JV team. They played every single person that they had that wasn't valuable to their core and entering the playoffs. So what, do they have 90 players?
That might help them get those guys getting some reps that they otherwise wouldn't have if they need to be called upon in the playoffs.
And that can happen.
Personally,
it's more intense. When you get to the playoffs, the game becomes more physical. It's already a physical game, but you're playing the best of the best in the league every single week, potentially. So the game is going to be hitting you harder. Every play is going to be hitting you harder. The players should be playing harder. So maybe getting those backup guys, those extra reps could be beneficial, having that depth. But regardless, Brandon Staley's excuse just made no sense to me. I get you only get 53 players, but you have a practice squad. You can activate some of those players. You can do whatever you need to do. And he decided to play his injured guys that just came back from injury. Mike Williams had a high ankle sprain that cost him the miss. I think it was like 5 weeks. Keenan Allen was hurt the entire start of the season. I think he came back like week 9 or 10. And you played him the whole game. It was criminal. It was criminal, and it made no sense. And then Joey Bosa gets hurt with another groin injury, potentially going to play back. Thankfully, Mike Williams' x-rays came back negative, and it was supposed to be a back issue, but it seemed like it was a leg. He seems to be playing. He was at practice, so he should be available for the game. But to what capacity, right? Like, if he's going to be hampered, he gets hurt first quarter because you decided to get him injured, playing him for meaningful minutes in a game that meant nothing to the team. It was disgusting. A horrible coaching decision. And then you lost. So you went all out to win, and then you lose. What does that do for the confidence that you were just building for the team the last couple of weeks, where the defense was rolling, where the offense seemed to be doing pretty well, and the players were catching a good rhythm and wins? Now they lost all of that momentum.
All you do is,
Horrible.
for me, in that, yeah, you're playing a division rival who wants to send you out in a crappy note and send themselves out in a better situation because obviously, draft picks and things like that. They don't have their own draft pick, right? The Broncos don't send it away for us. So
Hmm.
for me, you present the problem of just, yeah, you send them in on a sour note. Things are rolling, you're playing well, you're clicking at a decent level. At least if you play your starters and you lose the game, you don't really hang that completely on the guys. Okay, you lost, but you guys only played a little bit, so you're going to go in feeling a little bit different, exposed to some type of way, which is now they're thinking, okay, well, we just got beat by the Broncos and the Broncos are trash, so what are we going to do? We got to go to Jacksonville, who already pummeled us back. Obviously injuries and every game's different in the NFL. We saw the Jags and they were terrible, beat the Bills, and the Bills didn't score a touchdown. I mean, we know, we talk about the Niners, or the Niners losing the Bears this year. Obviously, it was Trey Lance. The Colts beating the Chiefs. I mean, things happen that are crazy in the NFL, but I can't understand the decision. For me, it just feels like, okay, I'm personally, you didn't give us a prediction on that, but I'm going to roll with the
Oh yeah.
Jags winning, which is fine. We can go back to it, obviously, but I'm going with the Jags winning this game, and partly because I think the Jags, this might be like a peak. I don't know if the Jags will stay here. I think the Jags are definitely on the come up as a team, and maybe they have some dips, but I think the Jags are going to start getting to a point, whether it's next year down the road, where they're here for a good little while, and they're they have a quarterback, and they're going to continue to grow and be that squad. The Chargers just feel like similar to my team, a lot of bad luck at times. And I feel like the Brandon Staley thing is not the answer there. And even if they do well, the best case scenario for them, honestly, is to go get a guy who's a better coach like Sean Payton and
Yeah.
somebody like that to come in and be the guy, because I like him. I like Brandon Staley. He's a good dude, whatever. But you can go get a guy like Sean Payton and help try to take Justin Herbert and that whole team to the next level. That's what you want to do. And winning a game like this just gives credence that you're not going to fire Staley and Payton might go somewhere else. So hindsight is always 2020. I'm trying to predict the future here a little bit. I think honestly the best thing is they take the L, they lose to Jacksonville, then San Diego. I'm always going to call them San Diego. The Chargers can go get another coach, come in, and then they can really take that next step. Because that to me is obviously staying healthy is a big thing for them. And every team is who's healthy at the end of the year here. But I believe that they need to, that would be the best case scenario. I know Chargers fans, you want to win, now. I get it. You should want to go all in and say, screw that. He can win. He's our coach. But I believe that your best case is something. And again, how do you warrant firing after you made the playoffs to begin with? But some people are just upgrades. I mean, Alex Smith was taking the Chiefs deep into the playoffs every year, and they just made the right call with Mahomes. Doesn't always work, but Andy Reid's a great coach, and he called it and he nailed it. So whatever, you got to make those calls sometimes. I think that's where they're at with Staley, but I do think the Jags are going to win this. I'll say 24-14. I think they play better than people think.
I agree, man. I've been high on the Jags a lot this season, especially after that abysmal year last year. The team's been good. They've been really, really good. The emergence of Trevor Lawrence, Travis Etienne's been balling, and they don't even have a phenomenal like receiving core. Christian Kirk was their big addition, and him and Zay Jones have been just absolutely sensational. So I do want to give them their flowers and their props because they found a way, and a lot of that is the coaching. Doug Peterson, what was Urban Meyer was out drinking late. He was kicking his players. He was getting lap dances from 18-year-olds at clubs. Like that's not exactly
Yeah.
what you need from a leader. And Doug Peterson is a professional, a Super Bowl coach, and he came into this team and changed the culture for these guys. He invested. The team invested, the franchise invested. This is a franchise at the end of last season where the fans were wearing bags over their head and clown makeup.
It's
And
true.
this year, they took the AFC, the South. So got to give them all the credit in the world. They had a huge turnaround from season to season. For Victor, I have to go with my team. As much as I hate the decisions that were done, I think the talent is all there as long as Austin Eckler can stay healthy because he's been abused this year. I don't think any players had more attempts rushing and receiving than Austin Eckler has this season. He's been Thomas the Tank Engine, man. This guy, they just give him the ball and let him do his thing. This is repeatedly over and over again. And I think they're going to use that as their game plan as long as the defense can maintain what they've done the last 5 weeks. So yeah, give me the Chargers. I think they're going to win in a nail biter. It's going to be real, real tight. It's going to be 27-24.
27-24. All right. All right. Well, with that, I mean, that caps Saturday. 2 games on Saturday. We actually have a Monday night too, which we'll get to. which is crazy. It's funny they're doing this Monday night thing still. I think they should all just keep it all on the weekend, give the guys the same break, same rest, everything like that. Next, though, got the Dolphins at the Bills. So, as you guys will find out if you can past episodes we have uploaded, and there's some cool things about our predictions we uploaded. I was actually pretty proud. The Lions did me right, ended up with a solid record. I said I think it would end up. I think I actually picked them at like 7 or 8, and they ended up getting a 9, which is great. But yeah, very diehard for me, Miami sports fan across the board. That's where I'm from, so diehard with them. And my Dolphins are on the other end of the spectrum. The Chargers were getting healthier at the right time, and everything is falling apart for my Fins, which just sucks. I gotta be honest, it's just terrible timing. Potentially out. Let me just recap this list here. Potentially down. Let me pull this up for you guys. So quarterback 1, obviously 2 is not playing. We know that now. Quarterback 2, Teddy Bridgewater is going to end up backing up Skylar Thompson. Running back 1, we don't know if Raheem Mostert's going to play after the broken thumb, although you'd be foolish to rule him out. The guy's played through a lot in his career, and he keeps coming back, and obviously he's been playing great lately. Depends on the hand. I don't know if it's his dominant hand or not. Hopefully he can cast it and he can play because the guy's a weapon. I pray above all else that Teron Armstead plays. Whole offensive line is better when he's out there, but if he's not, we're talking our top 4 who would be left tackles might not play in this game. Top 2 right tackles. Obviously, Emmanuel Ogba's still out. He was out all season, defensive end. He got hurt in the Cleveland game, I believe, before our bye week. And then he got obviously Brandon Jones starting safety, tore his Achilles. Our nickel corner, Nick Needham, he tore his ACL. It's just, or maybe it was, I have that switch. Jones might have torn his ACL and Nick Needham tore his Achilles. Might have that flip. Byron Jones hasn't played all year. So it's just like, come on. The injuries cannot keep getting any worse. This is just push the line for the Bills in a real heavy favor. They're double digits, just like the Niners are with the Hawks. Keeps climbing. I get it. I honestly, no one's going to pick the Dolphins in this game. For me, making the playoffs this year, back-to-back winning seasons where they just fell short, making the playoffs is huge. They needed to make the playoffs. It's that step. There's just something about it. It's that step, right? We have a lot of talent in defensive line that can help contain this game a little bit. But it's that step. Getting to the playoffs is that step that you can build upon. Worst injury luck I've ever seen. People right now, obviously, we're talking about Tua, which is a whole other subject as far as if a guy like him should continue to play. I just want to say there's multiple guys around the league that have been concussed multiple times. Pickett's had 3. Everybody's coming back the very next week. They're clearing protocol. They're playing. No one's making a big to-do. I understand Tua's injury when that happened it was scary and everybody saw it and it was taken off the field. The hands were something that really triggered a lot of people. I get that. It was upsetting for everyone to see. But at the same time, I just want everybody to be, treated equally. For me, a little bit of this is public pressure, why he's not playing on some level. If he doesn't want to play, if he doesn't feel it's okay to play, if he doesn't feel like he's ready to play, absolutely. If he wants to retire, by all means, do those things. I just want people to stop writing the narrative for him. And I feel like there's some public pressure here with the way that the NFL is being looked at after the Hamlin thing and I feel like there'd been a little trouble getting cleared to begin with. Now, that being said, that hurts our chances. Everyone thinks this is going to be a blowout, but I just want to pose the question, where was the blowout? The other games, right? I know the Bills, we're missing a lot of players in Miami. Well, they lost in Miami, but they blamed the Heat. A lot of people blamed the Heat in Miami, but I got to pose the question, where was that last 2 years when they won in Miami? Similar times. Second game of the season the year before, it was a shutout, but yet no one talked about the Heat then. It's just being used because to me, it's an excuse what people want to use, just the injuries. In that first game of the season, the first game the Dolphins beat the Bills, Dolphins had a lot of injuries. Entire offensive line, just like what's looking like this game, was completely reshuffled outside of left tackle and center. Multiple injuries to starters and backups, defensive players, lost their middle linebacker, lost guys in the defensive line, injuries across the board too. Well, then you fast forward to, okay, the Heat. Well, in Buffalo, they're going to smoke them. They're going to beat the hell out of them. It's in the snow. The Dolphins, for some reason, a team made up of players from all over the country, can't play in the snow because they're based in Miami. That always blows my mind. But they went up there and they outplayed the Bills. You know, they if it wasn't for a penalty, okay, I don't agree. You know, that to me, obviously, I was upset with the pass interference. I'm not saying it wasn't pass interference. I'm saying I hate that that's the way the game ends. Let me rephrase the way I say that. But that's how they won the game. Puts them in field goal range, kick a field goal and win. So we're talking about two very closely played games. Yes, Tua not being there hurts. But this has in no way been a blowout on either end of these things. These are tightly contested games, and the Bills are very talented. Super Bowl projections before the season started for good reason. They're a great squad. A lot of things going their way. I don't think I can, with all honesty, with all good conscience, sit here and pick the Dolphins just because of that. But I also can't not pull for my squad. I'm going to hope that everything goes our way that we need. Skylar Thompson, for me, keys to this game, he's a rookie. He's a rookie, but the guy has wheels on a greater extent than anybody else on the starting, any other quarterback we have has. Teddy Bridgewater may end up seeing time. If he does play, great. He brings that veteran leadership and that veteran presence that he's seen this before. For me, the Dolphins have to do a couple of things to keep this game close. You got to roll him out of the pocket. You got to keep him. Well, he can stay in the pocket, especially if Teron Armstead's playing, but he's got wheels, utilize him. If that first read isn't there, occasionally take off, make them respect you running the ball. Like everybody tries to respect Josh Allen. I know he's not running like Josh Allen, but he can move better than Tua, better than Teddy. He also has a big arm. Take shots early and often. Okay. Because otherwise, to me, this game is just going to be the Bills saying, well, they gashed us on the ground last time they played. I mean, Mostert at 100 yards in the first quarter, and yet McDaniel started to abandon the run for some reason. I don't know why, but he started abandoning the run. So for me, stick to the run, don't abandon the run, but to make that a reality, you have to take shots. I'm saying you take some bombs to Hill and Waddle downfield, throw it as hard as you can and let those guys run under it. And you know what? You might get a pass interference. You might get a huge touchdown. You might get a huge gain. It might be incomplete. You might get picked. But occasionally in a game like this where it's like, you know what? Take the training wheels off and huck it. If you throw a pick trying to make a play and making the defense respect that and it ends up being as good as a punt, I'm not going to hate it that much. I'm going to be upset. You don't want to turn the ball over. I get it. But you got to take risks. Defensive line needs to control this game for the Fins to, have any kind of a shot as far as that's where the talent is. Christian Wilkins, Zach Sealer, Jalen Phillips, Melvin Ingram, Bradley Chubb, obviously. We don't have Ogba, but that's where the talent is. You got to bring them up there. Holland and Howard got to be the guys in the secondary. Force a turnover or two, lean on the run game, and make them respect the pass in some capacity. And just for God's sakes, get the ball to Waddle and Hill and let them see what they can do, because that changes games. And make Mike Gesicki a priority on some level. He's a mismatch. Give him a shot on some jump balls and see what he can do. To me, there's a lot. Obviously, they're going to have to play near perfect football. I think saying that, obviously, fate, everything with the Hamlin thing is probably on the Bills' side. The Bills probably win this game 34-10 or some crazy blowout that everybody thinks is going to happen. Would not be surprised to see it. I do think the Bills, for me, I'm not going to go that high. I can't, just my pride won't let me. I apologize, guys. I know my bias is showing, but I'm going to say the Bills end up taking this game 31-21, 10-point game at the end there, still that's actually Dolphins covering with the way the spread's trending right now. But my heart says the Fins are going to find a way to do it. Again, probably not going to happen. Everyone's laughing right now. Bills fans listen to this. Everybody dogs it. I get it. We're all fans on some level, or diehard on some level for our teams, right? It's the reason we started doing this. I got to go, my guys. There's a way to win. It looks improbable right now, but, it might be a benefit that they don't have that much on Thompson. But the guy's got talent. Go out there and just get the ball to your guys, and don't be afraid to move the ball on the ground. Don't be afraid to move the chains, with your feet. And if the Fins can minimize penalties, they can at least keep this a game. Because regardless of what side of the fence you're on, unless you're a Bills fan and want to see or a Niners fan or whoever your team is, and you want to see them just roll every single thing along the way, everybody else watching wants it to be a good game. Everybody else, when it's not your team playing, you want this game to be a tight competitive game because you're, oh my God, you see that game? That's what we're rooting for. And this is a team that it's been tightly contested on both. A lot of those same pieces are there, even though a lot of them are missing. They know each other. The Fins can keep it close. There's a formula. They could also get blown out. There's some thing out there in the multiverse that is a way the Fins blow out the Bills. Probably not going to happen in this game. Again, A lot of ways it could go out. More than likely, the Bills will win big, but I'm hoping not. And yeah, there's a way to keep it close. Also, let Holland spy Josh Allen so he doesn't take off run. It worked quite a few times in the first game or second game, excuse me, in the snow there. So I think they'll rely on that a little bit too. But got to force some turnovers as well. I said that earlier, but yeah, I'll get off my soapbox. What do you think? I know you're gonna roll with the Bills, whatever.
Yeah,
Buddy.
I got to go with the Bills.
Too many injuries.
Yeah, there's way too many. If your offensive line is as decimated as it shows on paper right now, obviously everything is day to day. Players will change their mind. Oh, I can play. I'm play through injury. We'll see what happens. Obviously, Tua has been marked out for the game, and if
Yep.
you're starting with Skylar Thompson, it's a massive drop off. Tua is definitely worth a lot more points, and he's proven himself to be a starting caliber quarterback in this league, upper echelon starting caliber quarterback in this league.
He is, but you never know. Too, at the end of the day, crazy things have happened. I mean, Nick Foles took the Eagles on a run and won a Super Bowl. We've seen, eight and eight teams go win Super Bowls. They get
The
hot at the right
Giants.
time.
Yeah.
The biggest thing, no, I'm not saying it. My big thing about that is it'd be cool if we won and then potentially Tua comes back the next week, right? If that were to happen. If you pull an upset like this, though, I don't know if you want to make the switch. Thompson very well could end up being a very good quarterback. You never know what you're going to get from these guys. He's his first year, right? 7th round pick. Who knows? This guy could end up becoming something. See what that can be. But I got to say, fins and streaks, man. 1-3, lost 3. 1-5, lost 5. 1-1. Here's the next win streak. That's what I'm saying. You got to roll that. It's been a streaky season. A new streak is about to potentially, I hope, probably not.
I mean, it's been a streaky season for the Finns, definitely. Obviously, matching that wins and losses, and now they're on the upswing again. But the Bills are obviously they were the title favorites this year. We don't know, they potentially, if they do end up seeing the Chiefs in the conference championship, it's going to be a coin flip, or I think it's a neutral site because of what happened in Week 17 with that the heart stoppage, the heart attack, and everything with Damar Hamlin. So they very easily could have been the number 1 seed. Not very easily. They had to get to the Bengals, and the Bengals were moving on them. Regardless, though, the Finns have played them tough this year. They could have swept them, right? Like the first week, you're talking about complete statistical domination by the Bills, and they lost. And then the second week, it came down to a referee call. And I, argue whether it's real or not. I think we're on the same page that it was a pass interference, but it's just obviously crappy to see a game end that way. Regardless, not having two is huge, man. And the whole health thing, I do want to say he's a grown man. If he's good enough to go, the public, and he understands the risks. At this point, we have enough knowledge about what CTE is, about concussions and the protocol. I know concussions can be different depending where you get it from. His seemed to be the back of the head. It's different from getting it in the front of your head. So the varying severity can change, a player's outlook or a person's outlook, or even the doctor telling you what can be different for you going forward in your life. It still shouldn't affect how we, the public, view it. This is a grown man, and he understands the risk, and he wants to make that decision because he invested his entire life into this business. That's on him. He is welcome to do that. The same thing, like Nick Wright was mentioning it earlier a couple of days ago about Damar Hamlin. If he decides to come back to football, I know his contract is fully guaranteed after the NFL, the NFLPA, and the team came to an agreement that his contract will be guaranteed no matter what, even if he never plays a game ever again. If he decides to come back and a team is willing to take him, there should be no outcry for him not to play. Obviously, what he went through is scary. It's terrifying. There are heroes that saved his life, and we're happy that he's healthy and on the right track. The way the sports community banded together for this man, phenomenal. Everybody, I think, going into this week and last week were Bills fans to a certain extent. We were rooting for them. If he decides to come back to football, there should be no negative pressure because he understands the risks. Same thing for Tua. Tua had some scary concussions, and obviously the more you get, the easier it is to get them in the future, and the more severe the outcome will be. He should still be allowed to play. There should be no effect from the public for him to play if he decides that's what he wants to do. Obviously, right now he's still in protocol, which is why he's out. Maybe the team is more cautious about it. Maybe they're getting second, third, fourth opinions to verify the severity of the third concussion, second concussion, potentially third concussion. I want to clear that up. We only know there's two. There could have been three, but we know for sure that there has been two. Uh, and go from there. Um, Still, I got the Bills taking this game. Obviously, actually, and the same number you said earlier, 31-10 was going to be my prediction. I don't have a lot of faith in Skylar Thompson. He's young. He hasn't shown a lot. The talent obviously is there. He's an NFL quarterback. He made it this far, but being a rookie, there's a lot of pressure. There's a lot of pressure on this. But this is a huge first step, man. This team is massively talented. They have talent up and down the roster. If that defense can make turnovers and the defense can score some points, there could be some serious friction in this game. But I gotta go Bills on this one.
No, and I agree. Again, I know what you're saying completely. For me, it's just about, yeah, it's just capitalizing on opportunities, and fate and everything is pointing to the Bills. I understand this completely, but I see what you're saying about Tua. It's his decision, but there's public outcry in the sense that it's the most public position,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
He's a hot topic, hot seller. I mean, he's had top jersey sales and fan votes for Pro Bowl and things like that. And from the most prolific position in sports, a quarterback, getting these injuries, it's not a good look for the sport, for future generations playing the sport. So I think that's part of the way this is rolled like that, as far as the caution they're shown with him. And it changes everything for the future, because how do you commit the money? And I love Tua, and I think Tua can be the guy who led the league in passer rating this year. But how do you, and a few other stats actually, but despite missing some of these games, how do you commit? How do you commit? I don't think we're going to pick up, I say we're the Finns fan, right? So I pick up the 5th-year option because, at this point, you don't necessarily going to tie yourself to him. So I think what they're going to do is probably just keep him, let him play again next year when he's fully healthy, if he decides that's what he wants to do, or unless they go get someone like Tom Brady, or they bring someone in because they're like, we got this team that's ready to win. You just got to stay healthy, and we'll go ahead and we'll make some big noise, because this team would have made noise, and it can make noise, and they should make noise if they have the offense, because no one can score quite like they can, as fast as they can. Yes, the Chiefs can score points. Bills can score points, all these teams, but you look down and it's, we're not playing well. And then boom, 60-yard touchdown. They just have the talent with those guys to do that. And those can happen for teams, but I'm saying on a regular basis. So it's a bummer that theoretically, from what it looks like right now, I might miss out on it. But again, for me, it is that step, finally making the playoffs. It's a successful season because of that, because of what it's been, the build up, and it's been right there knocking at the door. At least they got in. You build on that. I think that makes the team stronger. That makes the staff stronger. We'll see. But I do think that Tua ends up the quarterback. You give him the shot next year. And then if he stays healthy, missing a game or two, stays healthy for the most part, plays well, avoids concussions first and foremost,
Yeah.
then you talk about an extension of some kind. I think it'll probably there'll be a lot of clauses in there and things for injury, protecting the team, protecting him. But it just sucks. Sometimes it's like I said, it's like I've told you this before, without bad luck, there'd be no luck at all. It just feels like you finally have a guy who's the quarterback, and we finally got our guy. It could potentially be this dude, and it's just now he can't stay healthy. It's just, it's just, it feels like a curse sometimes. The greatest passer ever with Marino, and we've been looking for 20 years since. I don't know if it's the curse of the fact that he didn't win a ring, or if it's a curse of the only perfect season, or what it is. The team still had a lot of success, top 5 winning percentage as a franchise. There's been a lot of success in their history. It's just like mostly been 500 for a lot of years, and they're taking that step. The roster's there to take that step, and yeah, you're worried about the quarterback again, and who knows? There's always options, unexpected ones. Yeah, rabbit hole. Sorry, guys, we're talking a lot about this. It goes deeper. We'll talk about this in the off season as we, free agency pickups and things like that. That'll be a lot of fun. But yeah, I hope it's a good game, and I think the rest of, America hopes it's a good game. As much as you say, okay, cool, I like the bye week and kind of thing. Like if you're the Chiefs and stuff like that, sometimes, the Eagles, sometimes getting a game, you don't necessarily want that. It's the rust versus rest thing, and you hope that these games are all competitive, because that's what it's about. If they're like the first couple games, we'll be, the rest of the, fans will be happy, because it'll be a decently close game. And that's how they've played each other. Hopefully that's where it is again. obviously I don't want to see a blow. I don't want to see my team be competitive.
Yeah.
If they blow them out, then that's the other end of the spectrum. If a blowout happens from the Dolphins, it's going to be a lot of questions. Wait a minute, the Bills, what happened? But from there, we move further down the line on Sunday. Off the soapbox I go onto the Giants and the Vikings, and really a toss up. I don't see any way the Vikings don't win because they're better. They beat the Giants this year, not by much, but the Vikings are the weirdest team. Well, like they have like 3 points up or something like that
3
on the
points down.
3 points down on the point differential, yet they have the winning record. I've never seen a team get this lucky. If you guys saw our predictions and everything, part of my deal with the Raiders this year was that they won a lot of close games last year. Now let's see that happen again. Those games don't generally go your way every year. You kind of are on one side or the other. You're winning all the close ones, but usually it's a little more kind of in the middle. Maybe you win 2 or 3 more than you lose, but the Vikings just can't lose them. They keep winning them.
Yep.
I don't know how this is going to play in the playoffs. The Raiders were like that last year, and then they fell off this year. It's a weird dynamic because obviously there's a lot of talent. We know they can score, but we've seen this team be such Jekyll and Hyde. The fact that they were down 33 points or whatever they were to the Colts at all says what you need to know. I mean, they came back. So it's like, what team the highs and lows are just in that game alone. They're amplified. They show you what this team can be. The Giants punching above their pay, their weight class a little bit as far as no one expected anything from them. They got in. Talked about that a lot because the NFC is a little weaker too. They snuck in. Good for them. I just think that the Vikings are going to find a way to win this. I don't know that I can trust the Vikings to go win the Super Bowl, but I think this is a good first game for them, and I think they find a way to sneak by. Would not shock me to see the Giants upset them, though, just because it's the Vikings. I don't know the hell's way to say it. It's the Kirk Cousins thing, but I right now I'm going to go Vikings in a way to come out and kind of put their foot down and say, here we are. And I like the Vikings to come out and show out a little bit to kind of prove those guys, prove naysayers wrong at first. Get the Vikings 30-13 and come out strong on the Vikings.
Wow. Honestly, this game is probably the least predictable game in the entire playoffs. No matter what matchup you put together, the Giants versus the Vikings is the epitome of a toss-up. Obviously, the Vikings beat them in, I think it was week 16, and they beat them on a career high field goal, 61 yards.
True.
This team is an anomaly. They're 13-4, right? They're the first team ever 13-4 to have a negative point differential. It's bizarre. But you look at the talent.
They have
on
the worst
roster.
point differential too, since the only other team was like, what was it, the 1990 or something Vikings, that it was a team in there. They were the last team to have such a bad point differential, but yet have a winning record. And that they got embarrassed in the playoffs in one of those games. And I might have the year wrong, but yeah, it was the last team to have such a bad one. I believe was the Vikings, or one of the last teams in that realm of what the Vikings have was another Vikings team. Just funny stats. Sorry to cut you off.
No, you're good, man. And it is bizarre. It's bizarre how this team can be 13-3. They only lost 3 times, and they have a negative point differential. 4 times. Still thinking 16 games. But the talent on this team is crazy. They potentially have the best receiver in all of football in Justin Jefferson. He just led the league in yards. He was on pace until he had a massive stinker against Jair Alexander and the Green Bay Packers, where he had 1 reception for 15 yards. But he was on pace for a 2,000-yard season for a long time. You have Dalvin Cook, is one of the best running backs in the game. TJ Hawkinson, a Pro Bowl tight end, just got joined in mid-season. Like, this team is stacked with talent, and Kirk Cousins is the epitome of a mid quarterback. He's just the best mediocre quarterback you can get. But he's still Kirk Cousins. And the Giants have the worst receiver core in football, but Saquon Barkley is top 5 rushing yards. Daniel Jones has been amazing, and they probably have Coach of the Year and Brian Daboll, who completely turned this ship around. Without any receivers, their entire receiver core has been shot since the season started, and it only got worse because of injuries. And then having to trade Kadarius Toney early in the year because he was so disgruntled that he was basically a locker room cancer. Like, this team,
saying he was hurt just so he didn't have to play.
He was being, he was being kind of kind of trash about it. I don't want to curse on the thing yet. We'll drop we'll curse word a couple episodes down the line.
Yeah, we
But
got to ease into this. Before you know it, it'll be intolerable. You guys will be cussing so much.
yeah, every other word. Uh, but the Giants have been playing really well despite the lack of talent on the team. Just want to give them all their props. Obviously, Brian Daboll has done a masterful job completely turning the ship around. Um, and they have a lot to build on. So I'm actually going to go with the Giants. I think they pull off the upset on the road, and they get this dub in reverse fashion. It's going to be 24-21. Get that field goal by Graham Gano, who's been their savior for the entire year.
All right, I could dig it. I just like to see the Vikings come out and kind of, at least for a week, hold some of that naysay off and the hate off about what they're going to be. I don't anticipate the Vikings going to win the Super Bowl, but also they're weird. Like, it wouldn't be shocking. I just feel like now that we're there, everyone's going to be doubting them because of how they got here. But it's a good first game for them to win. A very winnable game. I mean, it's not like they're playing the Niners and right away and you're like, okay, well, are they going to get exposed here? Are they the Vikings that got, crushed by the Cowboys or crushed by the Packers or, things like that? Like, what are we here? What are we, blowing teams out or getting blown out? But yeah, they're an enigma. Lastly though, this takes us to Cowboys and the Buccaneers.
Oh, we missed the Bengals and the Ravens.
Oh, we did miss the Bengals and the Ravens.
But that one should be quick because Lamar Jackson's probably not playing.
Yeah, my bad. I jumped right over that. Sorry, guys. Yeah, I went to the have on my thing here. I went to Cowboys Bucks, and I'm excited for that because you know how it's gonna go already. I'll pull back a little bit. It's the primetime game on Sunday before we get to our final Monday night cap. Yeah, I can't. We saw how this just played out just this past week without Lamar Jackson. Ended up being not too close of a game. I think pride and the way that they're playing, be in the playoffs and stuff like that. It'll amp it up a little bit more. The Ravens weren't playing for too terribly much in that game. It was just kind of, they can steal it back, the positioning and everything else. I get it. But, trying to win the North. But without Lamar, you kind of knew. I thought that, okay, we're going to see a completely different team because Lamar's going to be back. And it won't matter what we just saw. But that's not the case. I don't think there's any way that the Bengals lose this game. They're playing too well right now. The Ravens are kind of sinking too with injuries and without their quarterback. We talk about the impact of Tua. I mean, Huntley's good, and these guys, they always have someone ready in Baltimore, but Lamar's just a game changer, and he gives you a chance every play because of his skill set. No one's as fast and as nimble as he is like that, and obviously he's got a great arm. Despite the receiving core lack thereof for the most part in Baltimore, Rashad Bateman got hurt. There's a lot of injuries they've dealt with as well. J.K. Dobbins been in and out of the lineup. Lamar's kept that team afloat, and they did enough without him to make the playoffs, but without him against the Bengals, there's no shot. I mean, the game will be in Cincinnati, 6.5-point favorites. I think the Bengals will probably, they'll probably just cover 24-10. I don't see any way that this game stays super close. Maybe close for the first half. Again, pride keeps that going. Playoffs, the Ravens are a tough team. They're well coached. We know that. They're, iconic for that. I don't see any way they win this game.
Honestly, me neither. The Bengals have been amazing. They started the season 0-2. What was it? Joe Burrow had a off-season surgery. He didn't even get to go to training camp. He missed all the preseason. And then game one was his first game playing with his new offensive line. And he gets trounced. I think he got sacked, 7 times by the Steelers or 9 times? It was bad. Didn't look good. Miscommunication.
He threw 4 interceptions and he lost a fumble. He threw his first pass.
He had 5 turnovers. That game, and they barely lost. Then they lost again week 2. Since that 0-2 start, they've been 12-2. This has been one of the hottest teams in the entire sport, if not the hottest team right now. No, I think that's the Niners. Niners won 10 in a row, right?
Yeah, Niners are the hottest right now.
Yeah. All right. Well, they're up there. So yeah, you got to go with this team right now. They're kind of healthy. They're missing offensive linemen. La'el Collins is out. They're missing a right tackle. They're pretty thin on the offensive line, but their offensive arsenal is insane. You got Joe Mixon, Samaje Perine as a second back. You got Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, Tyler Boyd. Like the weapons they have is just silly. Yeah,
and you have enough to. You have enough to me. Can they score enough? Yeah, probably. But again, I mean, I made this comment with the with my Dolphins and the thing with the Dolphins compared to the Ravens is just the threats at receiver, the weapons that they have to, you know, you can get the ball in the hands of Waddle or Hill and they can score from anywhere on the field, and that can change the game in an instant. Plus, I think we'll see those guys in the return game a little bit too to try to spark something as well and things like that. The Ravens don't have a weapon like that. The weapon they have like that is the guy under center. That's Lamar Jackson. And without him, and Bateman and these guys hurt. I know you have one of the best tight ends in football, but I just I just don't see a way that they're going to manufacture enough points. Now, can they pound the ball on the ground with J.K. Dobbins and company and keep Burrow off the field and their defense forces a few turnovers? Yeah. I mean, if you get after them like that, and we say this all the time, this goes back to the fact that talking about there's no way this team will beat them. They're so much better, but we see it all the time in the NFL. They get beat. These guys are still pro players, but everything is so hyper focused in the playoffs that you think, oh, you eliminate some of that. But even then, we still see upsets in the playoffs. We've seen them every year. We see big upsets or upsets of some kind in the playoffs. I mean, last year, Tennessee losing to Cincinnati when they had 9 sacks and everything else. They gave a 16-point, whatever that game was. I mean, there's no way they're going to, I know Henry just came back, but again, they're the 1 seed bye week, it just felt like there's no way they're going to lose that game. When you look at the stats, there's no way they did lose that game, but they lost that game. We see them, so I can't, you can never rule anyone out despite how lopsided it looks. But I just really, for me, if they can take advantage right now on the surface, if they can take advantage of scoring a couple times they have the ball, I just don't know if the Ravens have the firepower or the weapons to capitalize on that in explosive fashion to keep the Bengals off the field, or match the Bengals, in that sense. I think what they need to do is just they're going to have to control the ball on the ground and hope they keep them off the field, and their defense can force a couple turnovers, and that division hate can fuel something and keep it closer than it should be.
The Ravens defense is amazing. I think they have a top 3 defense. They've been great all year, and that's kind of what's been keeping their ship afloat with their quarterback carousel since Lamar Jackson went down.
Yeah, they always have. Ravens usually always have a good defense, so that's I mean, we'll see. Again, the division side of things makes it scrappier than you would think. Plus, they did just play last week, so these guys are gonna be a little pissed that they just had this happen, and they're gonna want to rewrite that wrong, even without Lamar. I still think, I think it could be double digits. I'm going to, stand by that, but I honestly, these division games, I wouldn't be shocked to see the Ravens hang closer, or potentially, I can't necessarily say I'm seeing them pull the upset. I know recency bias, Bengals were just in the Super Bowl, but Harbaugh is a good coach. I mean, who would you take at head coach? Probably Harbaugh. If you're taking, Taylor or Harbaugh, I mean, I could say probably definitely Harbaugh. He's got a lot more years, a lot more success. Now, who you would take, Burrow or Jackson? That's another argument, but we don't have that discussion because Jackson's not out there. So, division's going to be a lot. It's going to help spice that up and make it an interesting game. But now we move on to Monday night.
Ooh.
Cowboys, Buccaneers, Monday Night Football. I feel like I already know the way this is going to end. I just see the writing on the wall. You can start if you want. You take this.
Honestly, this is I got to go with the Bucs. I know, like, the Cowboys are the better team, but Tom Brady just has magic. He just there's an aura about him that just makes things happen. Even when he's not, he obviously can't impact the defense. He can't change how his defense plays or the plays that his defense makes or how the other team's offense is going to play. But somehow him just being on the other team makes you make mistakes. It's the weirdest dynamic that I've ever seen in any sport. But Tom Brady just happens to have what Taylor Heineke has on the offensive side of things. You don't expect him to make something incredible happen, but then he just puts a little pixie dust on the football, and then things just happen his way. It's like the Tinkerbell magic touch. Now it's just going to work his way. And then you look at the Cowboys.
Were you being sarcastic, though?
No,
you really put Taylor Heineke in the same breath.
No, for real. I'm putting.
I know he's making plays.
Magic.
I know he's made plays when.
No, I'm talking about the magic. It's the completely unorthodox way things work.
You got to name Fitzmagic right there, the Amish rifleman. He's the guy who he's the epitome of that.
For me, Taylor Heineke's been that guy for me because I got into football more recently. So Taylor Heineke's been that dude where you don't expect anything to happen, and then did they just get a 60-yard pass?
Huh? It's a bit of a reach. I'm sorry to you guys listening.
Oh,
I'm
all
sorry.
right. Well, I think Taylor
Yeah.
Heineke does that little
I
pixie
know
magic.
he's a lot better than people give. Heineke, yeah, you're right. He's making things happen. I mean, he gave the Eagles their first loss. The guy's a baller. He's a gamer. You just see it out there. He makes
He
things
almost
happen.
beat the Bucks in the playoffs.
He
Like
did. He did.
with
He
his
came out
little with
ball,
his little pixie magic, but Tom Brady has stronger magic.
which
Yo,
is why, which is why you can't doubt that was the best game that they got. That they got the Super Bowl and the Bucks rolled the Chiefs, but
yeah,
that freaking playoff game against the what was the football team, right? That was a
the football
close
team.
game. I mean, they gave him a game. And that's why you never know what you're going to see. You have Nick Foles and things like that. You don't know what you're going to see. And who knows? We could see Skylar Thompson do this for the Dolphins, come out and play great. We could see him fall on his face. We could see Brock Purdy, who's bald in these regular season games, go out there and fall on his face, despite, we don't know what we're going to see out of these guys, little known players, and guys have their moments. They step up, they make plays. They might be great for a game and then suck the next. Heineke, I get it. Brady, for me, whatever team he goes to, he's going to be a Super Bowl. Like, they're going to be Super Bowl. The odds are going to go up. I don't know, say favorites, but the
Yeah.
odds are going to shoot up because that's just the effect. Even because he's still doing it at the age he's doing it. He can still do it. He's still consistent. He can still play and he stays healthy. That's the big thing. I just don't, you're right. I don't see any way. To me, the NFL is all about scripts. This script wrote itself. Cowboys, better record, have to go on the road where they played their first game of the season when Dak got hurt. They played at home in Dallas, but the Bucks beat them. Now I got to go on the road, chance to redeem themselves, go play in Tampa against the Bucks. They're a better team, but America's team, people love to clown the Cowboys, whether you love them or you hate them. They're the Yankees of football. And it just feels like it's set up for Brady, despite a crappy year, to start this off with beating the Cowboys, who have never beat him, which will just start a media storm of clowning the Cowboys on his way to being like, look at the GOAT go again. He did it again. He took a deep playoff run with nothing. He's the worst team he's had. The team's not good. The NFC South sucks, but yet he did it again because he's the GOAT. It just feels like that narrative's coming. Feels like it's here.
It's there, man, and that's why I gotta roll with them. Like the Cowboys went out the season with a whimper. They lost horribly,
That
horribly
was
to
like
the
your thing
Commanders.
against the Chargers. You don't need to play. They play their starters playing for that. I was like, bench them. You're just putting a crappy taste in your mouth. You're killing momentum.
Yep.
You're playing your guys for no reason. They want to beat you. It's the last game of the season. They hate you. It's whatever. They want to keep you from that one seed. And everything was going against them anyway. The Niners and the Eagles winning, the Giants benched their whole team. So there was no reason to play. It was like just call it, get off the field. I just didn't see any reason to keep those guys out there and keep that sour taste in your mouth.
It made no sense. And then Dak Prescott he's tied for the league lead in interceptions despite not playing 5 games. There are some things that just don't go in their favor, and if they're not going to take care of the ball, the Bucks are going to take this win, man. Whoever makes more mistakes, and I just don't think Brady's going to make that many mistakes. He's going to put that pixie dust on the ball, and Dak's going to throw a random interception when they're up by 14 and make it a 7-point game on a pick six, and then he's going to have a 3-and-out, and then Brady's going to have a short field.
Pretty sure Dak has thrown pick sixes in like the last 3 games or something crazy. Like he has not.
It's been bad.
Last 3 straight games. It hasn't been good. You're right. It's exactly the kind of swing thing that you see, or the Cowboys will be up big. They'll screw it up at the end. And right before half, the Bucks will score, make it closer, cut it to a 10-point game, cut it to a 7, a 3, even a 14-point game. And they'll get the ball at a half. They'll come down. They'll do it again. And all of a sudden it's a game like it shouldn't have been. Like their comeback against the Rams. They almost did it. And that's what this is about. It's redeeming last season. It's getting that taste out of his mouth and coming back. I don't even think he's going to retire again after this. He wants to keep going. But he's going to set these records that are just going to be unattainable. No one's going to touch him just because of the longevity of how long, how he's playing. Obviously the Super Bowl rings, but Pete, whether it's with here, if he goes to the Dolphins next year, goes back to New England, or he goes to Tennessee, or he goes to Vegas, wherever he goes, he's just going to keep putting up stats and no one's ever going to touch because just the longevity of his career. But yeah, you're right. I can see that happening, flipping the game open, and everybody just loves to clown him. And it's going to open the door again. That is Dak the guy? Is Dak not the guy? Is Dak the guy? Is he enough of a game changer, or is he just that guy who balances things very well when he has the run game, when he has the defense, when everything's going well, and he's well protected, he's making things happen, and he has everything on track, but doesn't have any elite trait somewhere. Accuracy, anticipation, arm strength, mobility, pocket presence, something. Does he have any of those?
No. and that's the difference. So give me the Bucks. Bucks got this game in a comeback fashion. I'll say 30-24.
Yeah, say Bucks 27-21. Bucks win.
Let's go
But
Bucks.
nah, yeah, it's weird. I'm going hard to say that, but all three Florida teams made it, so it's good. Bucks,
That's cool.
Jags, and Dolphins. First time since '99. Happy to see that. But with that, guys, first little episode here, exclusively on YouTube, the MVP podcast, and I'm just excited. I'm excited, Anthony. We're getting it going again, and we had a little bit of a hiatus with this all stopping, so I'm excited we can start up here again and get it rolling with the MVP podcast. I'm Phil Van Pelt.
I'm Anthony Mero.
And we will see you guys next week when the Chiefs and Eagles join the party.